Good afternoon. Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our webinar, How to Secure Grants. I apologize, we're a couple of minutes behind schedule. Just had a technical glitch, but nonetheless, we're all here and ready to start. So for this webinar, I'll be your host, Ray Saberwall from Athena Software. And with me today, I have Chris Ripley, our Director of Customer Experience, or Customer Success, and Jordan Fox, Director of Sales, again from Athena Software. So in the next 20 to 30 minutes, we will discuss what is outcome-based funding. We will also discover how to leverage reporting for funding within social service, social support, and non-profit environments. We will look at the benefits of showcasing direct versus indirect time to the funders. And finally, if and when we get to the bottom of the discussion, and if we have time, we will look how reporting works in Penelope, the SaaS cloud-based case management platform from Athena Software. So this will be a video discussion. We won't have any PowerPoint slides. And if you have any questions, please send them through the webinar chat console. We will try our best to address them as we speak, but if we run out of time, we assure you that we will take those responses and provide it to you in an email after the discussion. So before we start, I'll let the panelists introduce themselves. So let's start with Jordan. Jordan, you want to kickstart?
Sure, thanks, Ray. My name is Jordan Fox, and I've been at Athena Software for just under 6 years now. I'm the Director of Global Sales, and our team works with groups to evaluate whether Penelope would be a good fit for the work they do. And primarily, most of the work we do is in North America, but we do a bit of work as well in Australia, New Zealand, and the UK.
Perfect. Chris?
I'm Chris Ripley. I'm the Director of Customer Success at Athena. I have not been here as long as Jordan. I've been at Athena for about 7 months now. I started in April. And yeah, the last 7 months have been a really great learning experience for me. But my team looks after our existing customers. We partner with our existing customers, build strategies, and make sure that they have the services and products required to meet their goals.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. Jordan, in our previous webinar in October last month that we did with Greg, one of our founders, you both shared your vision on how agencies could grow funding and serve more clients. So today we will continue the same conversation thread and focus more on how to ensure that grants and funding is secured. So, Jordan, can you again kickstart by sharing the options about how to secure funding?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think when we speak to a lot of organizations who you would deem the most successful in garnering funding, they're doing it through a variety of streams, not just typically one. And just as you would diversify any kind of financial portfolio, it's the same way we see successful organizations diversifying their funding. Because not all funding is consistent or reliable, and you don't want to be putting all of your chips on one grant or one donor per se. So I think that is the best approach that we see our partners taking. And typically what it requires is allocating the resources to be able to do that. So resources are always required to get donations. If you're seeking private donors, private funding, that takes time and resources. If you're seeking grants, that is a huge resource drain. To be able to be writing grant applications for a lot of organizations becomes a quarter of a part-time or full-time role. So I think carving out the resources appropriately from a top of an organization is what we see successful agencies doing.
Oh, perfect. I totally agree with that. So, Chris, what is this kerfuffle about funding then?
One of the biggest lessons I've learned in my short time here is how important data is to funders for our customers. In today's world, demand for services are increasing while funding sources are not. So this is creating a more competition for the funding dollars that are available. And then funders, so because of this, they're looking for more information to prove that their dollars are going to have the desired impact.
Hmm. Hmm. Jordan, do you want to supplement that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're one thing we're seeing across the market is consolidation. So we see it locally across our community in our backyard with different social service organizations realizing that they are more powerful if they band together, and whether that's banding together in a formal merger or banding together in a informal collaboration. And that can be all kinds of things. It can be sharing resources, it can be sharing financials, but we are seeing consolidation across our local markets, but also the
Hmm.
international landscape as well. And so with this consolidation, it means that there's a bunch of larger groups or entities that are seeking the funding, and they are that much more powerful to get the bigger grants and get the funding from federal or local government streams.
Mm. And Chris, what are you hearing from your customer base, if
Our
anything?
cu- yeah, no, our customers are definitely looking for help. We're seeing more of our customers asking us to help them to ensure that they're collecting appropriate data or information to demonstrate their outcomes. And they're also looking to ensure that they have access to the data and the ability to report on the data that they're capturing quickly and efficiently, so they include that outcome data in funding reports.
Mm.
So they're leveraging things in our platform in Penelope, like smart documents and forms that make it easier for agencies to capture the data that they need, whether those data needs are for internal purposes or ensuring that demographic and program information is being captured for grants and funding. And then the ability to access data, whether it's raw data to build custom reports or some of the out of the box data or reporting that we have that may match the formats and layouts required by their funders.
Mm. That's Jordan, I'm going back to your point. You made a very interesting point. So I'm going to ask you, based on what you said, uh, can you define what is outcome-based funding? Jordan, can you hear me? Oh, I think Jordan has dropped. So, it seems like he had a poor connection. He has been having that connection since morning, so we apologize for that. But we can continue the discussion. So, Chris, do you have any thoughts on what your perception of outcome-based funding is?
Sure. Yeah. So and we are seeing this more and more from funders for our customers, where they're really looking for information that shows a return on their investment. It really comes down to that return on investment, and making sure that their money is going to agencies that are making an impact.
Hmm.
And when what we're seeing on is that requirements from funders can vary greatly between geographic regions and the different service areas that our agencies or that our customers are working in. Some funders are looking just for straight demographics of clients, and the demographics of clients served, and
Hmm.
maybe they might be looking for it on, say, a quarterly basis or a monthly basis. But we are seeing more and more funders that want to see exactly what's happening with the individuals that are leveraging the services of our customers.
Hmm.
Maybe not right down to the specific names, but the actual results that they're getting, and they're looking for that information sometimes even on a weekly basis. So there is varying amounts of or varying types of reports that are required by funders, but they really are wanting to verify and validate that their funds are having the impact on the clients of our agencies.
So, if I were to summarize what you said, essentially, outcome-based funding, is funding based on ROI. What is the return of the funds that the funders have allocated to any given agency or an organization? Based on that, they would allocate or decide on the future patterns of funding. Did I capture the essence of what you were trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we have Jordan back too, so maybe we can get
Yeah.
his. his input on that as well.
Hey, Jordan, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I'm demonstrating the world of home internet in this pandemic environment.
Yeah, I thought you just got scared with the question. Uh, no, but what me and Chris were talking about is, the definition of outcome-based funding. So we did discuss almost everything. So do you want to chime in a bit and share your thoughts on what you believe is outcome-based funding?
Sure. I mean, not knowing what was covered, I don't want to be repetitive, but I would say that it's a trend that we are seeing slowly evolve, and it's evolving a lot slower than we originally anticipated. I think
Hmm.
we've been hearing that outcomes based funding is the future for quite some time now, but we are still seeing the majority of the market still exists in this, bean counting type funding. So their funders are saying, how many individuals did you serve? And that's going to be the barometer that they're using to allocate funding. But we are seeing more and more specific verticals start to move in the direction of outcomes based funding that says not only do we want to know how many individuals are you serving, but what are the outcomes of those individuals that you are serving? So are they ending up in a good place? And of course, the good place that I'm talking about is very different across each vertical. So for home visiting programs, are you helping moms raise a healthier and a more well-rounded baby from the age of 0 to 4? That's an outcome, and that varies across each vertical that we're working with. And we're seeing more funding sources start to lean on that to say, yeah, I not only care about, yeah, like I said, the people you're serving,
Hmm.
but the outcomes that you're achieving.
No, that's wonderful. That's actually a very good segue into, so based on this requirement or where the world is tilting towards, Chris, since funding is becoming so crucial as you talked about for the survival of, many organizations and agencies, how can these social service and support organizations or nonprofit agencies leverage reporting for funding? Especially outcome-based funding now Jordan just talked about. So how can they leverage funding for reporting for funding purposes?
So, our customers are building strategies with our customer success team,
Hmm.
and leveraging our professional and technical services to ensure that really it's about future proofing their reporting needs. So as Jordan mentioned, we're seeing a slow trend towards the outcomes based funding models. So we're building strategies with our customers that will help them determine what their next funding questions will be. That will what are what they will need to attract different funders. So really, what the value that they're bringing to the individuals that they're serving, and how they can prove that. And some of the details of that may not be, and I know exactly what the funders are going to be looking for in the future, but ensuring that we have the strategies in place so that they can prove that going forward, and then we can work the details out of what those specific data elements will be when the time comes. But it's really about setting up those programs in advance of those changes so that they're ready for it.
Mm. This is very interesting. Very interesting. So Jordan, uh, s- is it means that there are benefits of showcasing, indirect and versus direct time to funders. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, absolutely. I think the comparison I like to use is if anyone's donated to a charitable organization, there's
Hmm.
always that metric that shows the amount of your dollar that's going to admin and overhead expenses versus the amount of your dollar that's going towards the actual service that the charity intends to provide. And it's no different with social service organizations that we serve. Their funders or their donors, because people give private donations to social services, as we know as well. They want to know, where are my dollars going and how much of these dollars are going towards administrative overhead type expense versus direct time with the clients, whatever that may be.
Right. No, perfect. Chris, do you want to add something to this, or are we good?
Yeah, well, one area that we're helping our customers with in this is using leveraging our tailored service. I mentioned professional services and tailored services before, but our tailored services team have worked with a number of our customers to build very specific reports for our customers' funders to help cut down on the time that our customers need to pull data and build the report or build the information to send to funders, where they can just pull it directly from a customer report that our team has helped them build, and just forward that right on to funders to cut back on some of that overhead and build some efficiencies there.
Oh, this sounds fantastic. And seems like, based on what you both just talked about, that accurate and detailed reporting can lead not only to retention of the existing funders, but can also draw in additional sources of funds. So, which is great. And I think a lot of our organizations, nonprofit organizations, and social service agencies can certainly uh, leverage that to enhance the services they offer to the communities. So in that spirit, Jordan, would you be able to give a 5 to 7 minute overview of the reporting options available through Penelope? Oh, seems like you're almost there.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we sort of riff off of your last point on direct service time, just to scale back, so what we're looking at is the back end of Penelope with some of our pre-built reports. And Penelope has a slew of reports built into the back end based on feedback from our customer base over the last 20 years that we've been in business. So there's a lot of best practice baked into our reporting. And there's actually a lot of best practice baked into all features in Penelope. You could look at every feature that exists in Penelope, and there would probably be a narrative story of a whole cohort of organizations that have requested this feature or had issues and caused us to develop it. So that's good sort of anecdotal evidence to say when you're acquiring a system like Penelope, you're not just acquiring a database, you're acquiring 20 years of best practice and similar organizations to yourselves, sort of bumping your heads on the same problems, only we've already bumped our heads for you and solved that problem and baked it into the technology. So enough of my ranting. To show you a good example in real time here, a direct hours percentage report is a really typical sort of managerial report that people would want to look at. And when we say pre-configured reports like we're looking at here, you can of course change the timeline that you want to measure, whether it's year to date or specific times. If you're an organization that offers multiple services, you could of course break it down by different service types that you offer. You could break it down even further. You can see that you can whittle it down by worker sites if you have different offices. But if I just take that as a general go ahead, just to give you some data to look at, in this example, this would be all the staff that work at my organization and the amount of events that they've had over this time period and the amount of time that's been spent directly with clients versus indirectly. And this is a demo database, so the data inside of it is not super clean. But as a percentage, you get a mix of percentage times per worker that people are spending with clients. And people then use that as a benchmark. They would say, okay, I see that on average, 57% of our time across staff are being spent directly with clients. Well, we want that to be 70% as a benchmark with everybody. So it becomes a semi performance management tool as well to say, how can we get more admin time to shift into direct service time? If I
That
take
could
it
also
one,
go
yeah,
back to funders to showcase how much of the value the staff brings for the funding dollars.
for sure. And it's, yeah, whether you're pitching your board, your management team, or your funders, or your general community, they want to know where are the dollars going. And that's a kind of report that can help showcase that information at a pretty granular level. So that's one out of 130 plus reports that exists on the back end here. But typically what organizations also want to see is that they have the flexibility to manipulate some of their data. So there is no shortage of tools out there in the universe to help manipulate data, Excel being one of them, a common one that a lot of people use. And you can get data out of Penelope into Excel. And that's a common one that people are comfortable with, including myself, and still stick with. If you want to take another step further, you could, of course, connect Penelope to a robust reporting tool. It could be Tableau, it could be Power BI. Again, everyone has their own preference, so we don't want to pick for you. But we've partnered with Tableau to build a set of dashboards that would pull data from your Penelope database and give you a report building tool so you can start to manipulate some of your data and see it in a graphical format. The reason why sometimes you'd want this tool is so that you can have a place to drag and drop this information into funder reports or into community reports or your annual general report that maybe you share with your board and community. And just to give you a few examples here, so if you wanted to build dashboards with multiple graphs, these are the kind of tools that help you to do it. And this is the kind of data that people typically pull right from Tableau and into their annual general report. Report builders like this allow you to go into the back end and say, okay, so this is a summary table. Let's say maybe I want to go in and edit, make a few changes in terms of the data elements that my funders are asking for. So I could say, and I'll just make up some hypothetical examples here today, that perhaps my funders are saying, I care about seeing the breakdown by gender per se. Let's just use that as an example. So I could say, okay, let's look at the breakdown of data here. What you're looking at are categories of data on the left-hand side here that exist in Penelope. So you'll see one of these categories being a custom SQL query. So of course, you can have data collected and brought into a custom SQL query that allows you to pull your own unique data into this report here. Maybe I want to look at this in tabular format, and maybe I care at looking at, by female, by unique count. Let's see if I can find another data element to give us some other flavor here. Let's say language. We care about what language, or our funders care about what language these people speak. Okay, so now we have a breakdown of what language these people speak. And again, this is a demo database, so there's not super clean data in the system, but you get the idea. Maybe another thing your funders care about, and this one's somewhat typical, is for appointments where clients no-show, I want to know the reason why. Based on this breakdown of gender, why are people not showing up for their appointments? Well, that's something that, and again, we've masked this data here, that you could break out per gender category. So a no-show reason might be clinical reasons or life reasons, administrative reasons. And that's something that maybe your funders care about. So I'll leave it at that as sort of a teaser trailer. If you do want to get more into reporting and how you can manipulate it out of the back end or with pre-configured reports, we are happy to set up an impromptu, informal discussion about it. There's lots of people at Athena who are passionate about reporting and do nothing but help organizations with funder reports. So there's no shortage of knowledge here in this building, well, virtual building now, of how we could help.
Oh, that was a great demonstration, Jordan. Thank you so much. As much as I love the presentation, I hate to rush you through, but given the time we had, it was very useful and insightful. I hope our audience liked it too, because reports like these can certainly help them, not only, as I said earlier on, ensure that the existing funders stay, but also generate new sources of funding, because you can showcase through multiple ways value of the funding that the funders will throw it or provide to the different agencies. So all the more reasons to look at it and explore. And if there are certain reports that are not available in the system, as Chris was talking about, there is an option to generate or get a customized report that could actually show the value the way you want it. So before we wrap up, Chris, any closing comments from your side?
I just want to thank everyone for attending and interest in Penelope and the reporting tools we have to help with obtaining and funding from your funders. It's important to make sure that we have the right out of the box canned reports. There's lots of opportunities there for pulling data. I think it's also important to look at where you may have the opportunity to create custom reports and have access to data to tailor to your specific needs and the specific needs of your funders. One thing that I've learned over the last few months at Athena is that our customers do have varying needs, and each one of them have different different groups of funders that will also have different needs. Just looking for a platform that like Penelope that has those options for you to create those custom reports or manipulate the out of the box reports as well, and make sure that we're it's there for the future, because we know that things are changing, and there's definitely unforeseen needs that
Mhm.
that we'll have to meet as well. And
So,
that one last
sorry.
point, sorry, Ray, one last point I wanted to make is, one of the things that we're working on for in customer success for 2021 is building out our community of customers to work together, to bounce ideas off each other and share best practices. So I know Jordan talked about best practices that we've learned from our customers, but what better way to learn and share by talking with each other. So that's the last thought I'd like to leave with everyone.
Now, that was precisely what I was going to ask is what if, some of our attendees or listeners, aren't sure or if they want a certain set of report or reports or not, would they have the opportunity or would you be open to connect them to our existing customers so that they at least know that certain things work, certain elements did not work, and what are the best practices or the pitfalls to avoid? So thank you for bringing that point to the fore. Really appreciate that. So, folks, thank you. This was, very helpful to me and insightful, as I said earlier on. So with this, we do come to an end of our discussion today. So I really want to thank Chris, yourself, and Jordan for your invaluable input and your time. And once again, for those who are listening or watching this discussion, if you have any follow-up questions, you need a free assessment of your environment, or you want to look at the reports that are pre-built into the system, or any customized reporting that you would love to generate, reach out to Jordan. His credentials will be sent to you in the email once you finish off this webinar, and or just go to our website at www.athenasoftware.net, and you can contact us or sign up for a free demo. So thank you again. Wish you all the best and stay safe.